And welcome back to the Greg Struss Show. I'm Greg Struss, coming to you almost live and direct here from Cable Television City in the west side of Chicago. And glad to have you along with us this week for what will hopefully be another exciting program with yours truly in front of a black curtain. Now, I can't say that, it's the most exciting way of doing a television show, but it's different. And I think that a television show, now, I remember, well, let me first finish this thought. A television show is much like a life. And why do I ask that, or why do I say that? I say that because a television show, has different elements. Different things happen. And as it matures, like a human being, there's more elements. Sometimes people do different kinds of things. And if you take a look at a show that's been on, well, let's take a look at the Today Show. The Today Show's been on, I believe, since 1952. So if you take a look at the first Today Show that was produced, and the last Today Show was produced today, you'll see a big difference, right? Because in the course of 50, 60, well, actually it's 60, almost 60, what is it? 52, yeah, 66, right? 66 years, something like that. It's different, okay? So thousands of shows, they change. So that's my point. But Barry Diller, the great Barry Diller, who was behind the Fox television network, he was one of the executives that brought Joan Rivers over in 1986 when the Fox network went on, not Fox News, but the Fox television network went, became a network. They became the fourth network. And so several years ago, Mr. Diller was talking and he said, television, using the word television is an antiquated term. He says, I don't think people should be saying television anymore. They should be talking about media because it's today. And I think that's, I wanted to disagree with him. He's somebody I would love to break bread with, Barry Diller, because he's a deal maker. He's done lots of different things in the industry, so to speak, entertainment, media, television. And I thought for a man that is his age and that grew up in TV, that he was that he wasn't being loyal to the trade. Because I think TV is different, all right? We have all kinds of media, right? So what falls under that? You have TV, radio, film, movies. Some people used to call them motion pictures. And probably back at the time when they made real movies that meant something, that the motion picture industry was different than the film industry. So I don't know, I got kind of on a diatribe here, and certainly this isn't what we're going to be talking about tonight or this week. But anyway, I wanted to just kind of touch on that beforehand and how things change and shows change and et cetera. So anyway, I'm glad that you're with us this week. We're going to be talking about the division in this country, okay? The division in this country. Division is not only a name of a street in Chicago, it's also what's happening in America today. And I'm wondering, why is there so much division? And I'm kind of thinking that it's part of what the media is sharing with us on a daily basis. We're not hearing a lot about the positive things that the president is doing, okay? And if we talk about the positive things that President Trump has done, then we're looking like, well, you're not supporting the so-called norm. So what I've seen in this new, this last presidential election is enough to just startle me for a number of reasons. One, it seems like we've lost our freedom of choice, and that if we don't agree with people on a certain level, that we're chastised or in a sense outcasted. Because, well, why do you think that way? That's not normal. Well, who are you to tell me what's normal for me? And who am I to tell you what's normal for you? I think we have to, gone is that day of acceptance. And I think one of the biggest problems with division right now is that there's no multiplication or addition. No. Part of the problem with division today, I believe, is that there's a lack of acceptance for the outcome of whatever. So I really think that acceptance plays a big part in all of this, that we haven't accepted, certain people haven't accepted that, President Trump was elected into office and blah, 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 blah. So there's a lack of acceptance there. And yeah, we can be upset if we're not happy with the fact that President Trump was elected and that the other person didn't win, whether you were, whether somebody was a Bernie Sanders or a Hillary Clinton voter. But back in, not long ago, even, I would probably say that a lot of this stuff started with the 2000 election when Al Gore and President Bush, who then became President Bush, the votes were teetering, they were recounted, and it turned out to be pretty much the same thing, that it was the Electoral College that was able to vote President Bush into office. And what's really strange about all of this now is that President Bush is now looked at like an angel in a sense compared to President Trump. And people now like President Bush, whereas it seemed like President Bush was not a very popular president for a number of reasons, mostly the war in Iraq that we got into, and of course the 9/11 attacks. So that's kind of how he started out his presidency, and now people kind of revere him. So it's kind of funny. What's old is what's new, and just because somebody was deemed as evil or whatever years ago, now it's kind of like they're angelic, and I'm kind of entertained by all of it, really. So regardless of what the politics are, the division is really rooted in politics. And also a lack of, I think being at war with ourselves in a sense. I talked about this last time. Larry Kudlow, who is an economist and a journalist and has a program on CNBC Radio, talked about a lot of this stuff, and he discusses that on his show as well. So division in America, I'd like to talk a little bit about that tonight. And award shows, award shows and what's going on with award shows and NFL and other sporting events, and how politics is tainting the entertainment message, and I believe the value of entertainment as well. So anyway, that's what we're going to do tonight. And trying to think what else. I think that's it. I think that'll be enough. Yeah. And then I'll give a shout out a little later after we come back. Anyway, I'm Greg. This is The Greg Show, and we are reinventing community television here in the west side of Chicago. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back in just a moment. Poppin' Fresh, or who we know as Pillsbury Doughboy. He died yesterday of a yeast infection and complications from repeated pokes in the belly, but his later life was filled with turnovers, wasting much of his dough on half-baked schemes. The funeral was held at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. The laughter of Doughboy will be greatly missed. And we have returned, and you can watch us every week on Xfinity Comcast, Channel 19, here in the west side, actually the western suburbs of Chicago. 68 communities, I believe. We're in West Chicago. We say hello to all the people in Oak Park that are tuning in tonight, Forest Park, and parts unknown. I believe we're on in Burbank, Cicero. So if you're tuning in, thank you so much for joining us, and drop us a line here at the Greg Struss Show at gstrussman@gmail.com. And if you want to take a look at shows past, we have many of them on youtube.com with the search words The Greg Struss Show. Again, things change, things happen, and we progress, and we do things differently. Sometimes we have to simplify our lives, and I think that's what I've kind of done with this program for the time being, is I've kind of simplified it and trying to do something different. I won't say trying to do something different, but doing something different. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it, and we'll drop us a line. All right, before the break, I was talking about the division in the country okay? The division. It's not about math. It's about a divide. And I really think that a lot of the folks that talk about this division are the ones that are unhappy. And trust me, there's a lot of unhappy people in the world and in our daily lives. I mean, we work with them, we live with them sometimes, and sometimes we're in a relationship with unhappy people. And then what happens to us? We kind of become unhappy as well. And I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about when was the last time that I was really happy in my life? And this past winter, it really hit me. Some things hit me very hard. You know, the weather, certain things that happened over the course of the winter. You know, I lost my dog shortly before winter as the weather was changing. Uma was 14, 15, she was probably about 15 years old. She was a German Shepherd. And here I am 5 months later, and I'm still kind of processing this loss. And, you know, some people are like, you know, you've been really down lately. I don't like to be down. I like to be positive energy. But there comes a point in time where I kind of feel that I'm a little, I don't know, that a part of me has just kind of given up with some things because I feel that I don't have the energy or the wherewithal to, I don't want to say that I don't overcome it or that I'm, you know, down in the dumps, so to speak, but I just don't have that happy, joyous, free feeling. And I don't like it. And I certainly don't care for it when it stays around for a long period of time. So I think taking action is a really important part of that, and being busy and doing constructive things that add value and meaning to my life. So the things that I talk about and that I've discussed on this program, this series over the last 5.5 years, are things that I've been dealing with and maybe have dealt with in my life, and I revisit them, okay? Because why? I'm human and I make mistakes. And even though I don't think I'm making mistakes, falling back into certain patterns of thinking, it's, you know, that happens. And I kind of have to give Greg a break every once in a while. So thanks for letting me pontificate and demonstrate and communicate that thing. And hopefully you get something out of that. That really it's about taking action and changing the way that I feel and what I'm doing in my life. So that happened. And then you tune into, you know, I had to stop watching the news. I had to stop watching all of the news. I stopped watching CNN. I stopped watching MSNBC. And I even went as far to stop watching Fox News because I'm tired of all of the negativity. And it's really negative. And when I'm not, and I'm run down, I'm not feeling good, why am I going to tune into this stuff? So now I go on to various websites like Mediaite, and it's negative. And I love the media. I mean, I love TV, and I love reading about these people that, you know, are ultimately in a position that I would love to be. And then I tend to wonder, like, well, what would I do differently if I were in their position? Well, the first thing I would do is I would move away from the political conversations that I can't agree with someone on, okay? So if I make a comment that praises the president, that means that I'm an enemy because most in the media right now are saying that, you know what, we don't like this president. And I can't say that that's true, but to me it kind of seems like it is. Or if I say, you know, and if I say, or if I'm disrespectful to the president, as most of these newscasters, so-called newscasters are, or what do they call them, contributors or moderators, you know, then it's okay. And I don't want to be like that. So if I were in a Joe Scarborough, you know, on Morning Joe, if I was filling in for him one day, which I would love to do, I don't know if I could take Micah for more than 5 minutes once she gets on her diatribe, but that aside, I'd make it work. And I would stay away from confrontational conversations, points of conversation that I can't agree with. Because what's happened is I've alienated half of my audience, half of our audience. And nobody's getting this. Nobody is getting this at all. And that's what I think is kind of amazing as we see that the NFL ratings have, you know, been falling for this season, or the Oscar Awards, or the Emmy Awards, or the Tony Awards, or the Grammy Awards. And what is the central theme in all of this? Okay, so in the Oscars, the ratings were down for a number of reasons, but nobody's really talking about the reason, which is kind of like the white elephant in the room, because I think most of the people that are associated with the arts and the shows kind of tend to lean a certain way politically. So that's the norm. I mean, and I'm not making fun of anyone, I'm just kind of calling it as I see it. So a lot of these programs are going to deal with issues that are important to people that are not conservative or are not Republicans, as they say. So that's where I think the divide comes in. So it now becomes, I was joking before the show with a couple of the people that work here at the studio, and I just said, you know what? It's like you have the Me Too movement, you have the something else movement, and I would like to make my own movement called the Time's Up movement, where all the hypocrites leave, okay? Now this is what I find interesting about the Me Too movement, all right? And I'm kind of being facetious here, because I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen anything where it's just so out of control now, and that if you don't think a certain way, that there's something wrong with you. And here's the deal, with the Me Too movement and all these people that worked with the Harvey Weinsteins and all these men that were in power, it's not to say that this was excusable behavior. It was not. And there was a lot of fear. And when someone's victimized, it's fear, all right? And somebody went through something. There were multiple people that went through something. But what I don't understand in all of this is why now? That would be the next movement, the why now movement. Why now? You take out someone like Charlie Rose, Matt Lauer, and all of these people, because of their sexual indiscretions and bad choices, now no longer work. They no longer have jobs. Yeah, they're set because they've worked, but their purpose is gone. Everything's gone. And yeah, was there abuse of power? It sounds like it. But yet I see it every day. I see people dating every day at jobs, and nobody gets it. Nobody understands it because they don't understand that, well, I can do what I want because I'm the owner of the business, or I can do whatever I want because I don't have to follow those things. It's different for me. Well, gentlemen, I hate to tell you this, it's not different. Whether you own a company or whether you work for somebody, it's not okay to be involved with people that I supervise, okay? If I'm the owner or if I'm in a management position, and this is something I learned a long time ago, and people would just look at me like I was nuts. And I probably am crazy on a certain level. But that aside, I just never have gotten involved in that. And it's almost to the point of where I don't get involved with people I work with, period, even socially. You're nice, you work, you do the job, but I have found in my life that more often than not, it creates a lot of problems because of boundaries. Well, we went out last night, we hung out, had a great time, and now you're suspending me for a week. It's difficult, and people take advantage of relationships, and I've always tried to, I haven't always been perfect, but I try to walk that line of what's acceptable. So I go to work, I do my job, and then I leave. And work is only but a part of my life. And this is what a lot of, when I was working in communications at a police department, the police officers, that was their life. They were never home. They were working overtime. They were always doing something work-related because that was, I feel that for a lot of men, that work defines them. And so when that job went away, when police officers who were busy being police 24/7 retire or get injured, it's a big change in their life. And many of them don't recover from that. But I try to have a healthier relationship with my work and my job and try to keep that separate from other parts of my life. That's just me. And I think, it's not that I'm standoffish about it. I'm social at work, I talk with people, but I'm just very uncomfortable getting to know people outside of work. I don't know, it's just something that's, I've just seen bad things happen, and, but of course that was a different part of my life. So I don't know, we'll see what happens. Anyway, I touched on a lot of different things there, and hopefully we made a point somewhere in that conversation as far as the division is, and working towards acceptance. And I think that's a big part of life is accepting my limitations. So I'll never be perfect. I will make mistakes, even though I try to think that I won't. And it's best to stay away from conversation points that someone is not going to agree with me on. And lately that seems to be a lot of the politics. Anyway, when we return, the King Snakes, one of my favorite groups of all time from the south side of Chicago, will be retiring. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Ange and those guys when we come back in just a moment. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
If you see tonight's guest on Oprah, you might not recognize him now. He's recently had cosmetic surgery on his snout in an effort to look younger during his campaign for a seat on the very condo board that tried to evict him from his home at 210 East Pearson. Please give a warm Southside welcome to Laddie the Streeterville Sow. Oh, yeah. And his owners, Tom and Mitzi Sterd. Let's hear it. Hello. Welcome. Don't forget to put your microphone on. Your mic. Hi, Tom. How are you?
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Hi, Laddie. How are you?
Grapes, buddy.
Have some grapes, Laddie. Okay, don't you folks have to remember to put your mics on. Not very obedient, is he? Okay. Oh, come on. How do you tell? You say, Laddie, come? Come on, Laddie.
You know, I have to wait until you get him over because his leash is in the way and I'm sitting with his
Come on,
leash.
sweetheart. Here's a grape. Here's a grape. Come on. Here's a grape. No.
He's sort of a Howard Hughes.
The Howard Hughes of television.
Talk show. Okay.
Here's a grape. Here's a
Grapes.
grape.
Grapes, Laddie. Grapes.
Okay.
He's not performing.
Tom, you got to remember to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the infamous Laddie the Pig and his family, the Stearns, and we're glad that you could come all the way out to the south side from the Gold Coast.
Thank you.
Put it on your lapel. Put it on your lapel.
I mentioned a little while ago, I don't know what this is, about the King Snakes. This was a group of individuals that came together, that formed their band, I believe in 1982. It had to be 82, 84 in that era of time. And every so often they would perform at this place called Skipper's Marina, which is in Chicago on 134th. You would go down Indiana through Riverdale to Chicago and through the hood, so to speak, to get to this marina. And they had like these down periscopes or something, these drinks. I never went, but I always heard from folks that did. And it was just nothing but, it was kind of like nothing but liquor, but it was called the Periscope, this drink. And everybody would go see the King Snakes. So Ange made the announcement on Facebook that the group will be disbanding later this year and will be performing one last time. They were one of the first groups that appeared on the original Greg Struss show when it was produced from Dalton, Illinois, at Continental Cable, which no longer exists. Someone drove through the building and they boarded the place up. Just amazing. But I want to share that and pay homage to these guys and let them know how much I appreciated them coming on back in the day. I was hoping we could get them out here. We're doing kind of a different show now, but you never know. So I want to wrap it up so we have enough time to play this video of one of their last appearances on our program. You're going to see some younger folks in this clip. And anyway, for now, I just would like to say thank you for watching. I'm Greg Struss, and we'll take it away with the King Snakes. Goodbye, everybody.
Anyway, our first guests
made their first appearance with us. It's hard to believe, almost 2 years ago. And like fine wine, they continue to improve with age. They have also proven to be one of the best rhythm and blues bands in the South Side. And it's a pleasure to welcome back to our show the King Snakes, everyone. Yes.
Tell you a story about the best friend blues. Man's in love with a woman, woman's in love with another man. Woman's in love with a man, man's in love with another woman. She lived right next door. Tear up the dance floor. At the end of the night, I met the wrong front door, baby. Our love is a dead end. Oh, say I don't love you. I'm in love with your best friend. To have a good time at the end of the night, but she's yours and not mine. Oh, baby, I don't mean to pretend. Say I don't love you. I'm in love with your best friend. Play the blues. Time. I'm friends with your brother. Oh, my woman, she's your best friend, but she acted like my mother. Oh, baby, I don't mean to pretend. Say I don't love you. I'm in love with your best friend. Sister, your best friend, even though I miss her, your best friend. Oh, I say I don't love you. I'm in love with your best friend.
How you doing? Great song. What's the name of it?
Best Friend Blues.
Best Friend Blues. What's it about now?
Said I don't love you. I'm in love with your best friend.
And that's an original?
Original, based on a true story.
Based on a true story. Who was it about?
The names we won't talk about. Yeah.
And when did you write that? You wrote that one?
Yeah, about 2.5, 3 years ago.
So yeah, I noticed you guys. Well, first of all, we'll introduce everyone. You're Tim.